I'm here. Good afternoon. I'm Bill Warmouth. I'm the 2026 GRA president. I'm delighted to have you all here. Thank you for pivoting and working with us as we had to ensure everybody's safety by doing this a little more intelligently than asking people to drive over to the board office today. I'm going to start out by reading the antitrust statement, as we do for all of our meetings. Just a couple of housekeeping notes as we go into this. We do have, excuse me, the folks from the tax department, and as always in Zoom, there is a chat box that you can enter your questions in. And Peter and Mike from the board office will be taking those and posing those to our guests once they've started their presentation. But please read the chat box and make sure we're not asking the same questions repetitively, please. Just to kick off the meeting, and by the way, happy snow day. The Greensboro Regional Realtors Association is a not-for-profit trade association devoted to improving the business conditions of the real estate industry in our region. GRRA meetings and events often include real estate professionals and other industry stakeholders who compete with each other or work for competing businesses. GRRA is committed to conducting all meetings and events in a professional, ethical, and lawful manner, including in adherence to all antitrust laws. To that end, the topics for this meeting will focus on advancing the interests of real estate professionals and consumers of real estate services, increasing competition, reducing risk for all parties involved in real estate transactions, and sharing insights on business best practices. The following discussion topics are always prohibited. Those are agreements to fix prices, limit product or service offerings, allocate geographical territory or customers, and refuse to deal. Any discussion inconsistent with this policy will not be tolerated. So again, welcome to our February webinar meeting. And again, thank you for attending in this manner. Our sponsor today is Fortified Dreams Property Solutions, and they are represented by our very own member, Alika DeGraff. You will see Alika the next month at our March meeting. Our guest speakers today will be Ben Chavis, the Guilford County Tax Director, Donna Bailey, the Assistant Tax Director, and Jennifer East, the Assistant Tax Director for Real Property. Let's start with a little more somber note, if I may, and that is the cares and concerns. We'd like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of the following individuals. Our much-loved Sharon T. Gray, our retired staff member, passed away Monday, January the 12th. Lloyd Dickerson, a member, passed away in September. Unfortunately, we didn't get notification until about the middle of January. Coolidge Porterfield, a former member, passed away on Sunday, January 25th. And Terban Patel, mother of current GRRA member Meena Amin, passed away on January the 25th. Please keep these members and their families in your thoughts and prayers, and a donation will be made in their honor to GRRF. We've got a few committee announcements I'm going to run through quickly. The Triad Global Summit will be Thursday, February 5th from 10 to 2 at GRRA. We have in-person CE elective with Darren Dunsweiler Tuesday, February 10th from 9 to 1. A virtual Gin Up with Trish Adams and Vanessa James Wednesday, February the 11th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Big Heart RCSC fundraiser is Thursday, February the 12th from 5:30 to 7:30. The in-person Bike Up with Trish and Vanessa will be Wednesday, February 18th from 9 to 1. This is their fundraiser for the year, incidentally. The RCA Luncheon with High Point Market Authority, Tuesday, February 24th from 11:30 to 1. Empower Hour for in reference to HOAs and condos will be Thursday, February 26th from 10 to 11 a.m. at GRRA and with GRRA attorney Jim Slaughter. Our March 1st Tuesday luncheon, which hopefully will be back to being in person, will be Tuesday, March 3rd from 11:30 to 1. And that will be on Greensboro Roads and Highways, which is also always a very popular luncheon. So please get your reservations in early. Also, please remember the Women's Council of Realtors is doing a membership drive, and please contact Crystal Williams or Kathy Carpenter for more details. I recently joined the Women's Council of Realtor, went to their meeting the other night at Marshall Muse Gallery. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic group, and wonderful venue there. So just a couple of other reminders. As always, please, it is never too early to go ahead and make your first investment to RPAC. And in fact, if you're so inclined, I think it'd be great if everybody made a monthly priority to give to RPAC. Remember, the Greensboro Regional Realtors Foundation depends on our support, our enthusiasm for things that are being done to help raise funds for them and their good duties in our community. And another place to really put some emphasis is to make sure you as members participate in GRRA by getting on a committee. The committees always need talented people, and I know there are a lot of talented people watching today. I'd like to introduce our speaker today. The topic for today is a very timely one, and one I know we're all expecting lots of questions from our clients, friends, and neighbors. It is the 2026 Guilford County Tax Reassessment, and it is to be released this month. As realtors, we all know what that means. Our phones are going to start ringing, as they have every time there's been a reassessment. Clients will be reaching out with questions, concerns, and sometimes lots or a little bit of confusion. So our goal today is to help you feel really prepared, well-informed, and confident when those conversations happen. Again, as a reminder, Mike and Peter will be manning the chat, Zoom chat, for any questions you may have, and they will present those to the speakers. So any questions you have, please put them in the chat. So I'd like to welcome Ben Chavis, Donna Bailey, and Jennifer East. And thank you all very much for coming and joining us today and speaking at our webinar. A book will be donated in your honor today to our adopted school, which is Hunter Elementary. And with that, I'm going to turn the ball over to our Guilford County tax professionals, and I'm going to slide quietly to one side.
Thank you, Bill. Let me go ahead and see if I can get this presentation launched. I had it up, but and everybody's, well,
bear with us while we have technical difficulties.
Peter, can you help me out with this?
So if you mouse to the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see the share screen icon. So we'll need to share your screen again to get you back started. Do you have your Zoom window up?
Okay, hold on just a sec. Now I can't get my PowerPoint off the screen.
I'll be happy to pull it up if you need me to, Ben.
Yeah, if you would. My computer's locked up now for some reason.
Does everyone see it now?
I can't see it.
I do not see it yet. I'm sorry.
Donna's frozen now, isn't she? There she is.
Is it up, Jen?
It's coming. Yeah, there you go.
Can you see it up, Ben?
I can see it, but it's not in presentation mode.
I'm sorry, everyone, if you will bear with us a little bit while we work through the technical logistics on this.
That better?
Oops.
Yeah, I can work with that if everybody can see it all right.
Yeah.
Is everybody seeing that?
Yes, I can see it.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
So go ahead and roll the next screen there. Thank you, Donna. Donna will be rolling the screen for me. So first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having us back with you guys again today for this presentation. As already has been discussed, a very vital process is occurring right now in our community as it relates to real estate values from a governmental perspective, and that we're about to engage with the public with this 2026 reappraisal, and about to get that underway with the public. As you know, we've been doing this for about 2 years now, since we got triggered to do a reappraisal back in 23. So what prompted that? In essence, what prompted that was the North Carolina Department of Revenue. Annually, they publish a sales ratio study. In 2022, when we did the reappraisal, we were at 99.7 on our sales ratio. And our sales ratio is simply a relationship between the assessed value and the sales price of a property. In the example on the screen, you have the property assessed at $350,000. It sells for $400,000. The sales ratio would indicate 87.5%. When that ratio itself falls beneath 85% or it's above 115%, then that will trigger a reappraisal in a county whose population is 100,000 or greater. And so that's essentially what triggered our reappraisal 1 year earlier and 2026 instead of 27. So that's what got us there. We were not alone in that. 22 other counties got triggered about the same time. Of course, everybody knows what was happening with the real estate market, and that's the reason why our sales ratio in 1 year went from 99.7 all the way down to 84.95%. We were trying to find every way in the book to not to get out of that triggering event. But when we went back and analyzed not just the sample data that DOR looked at, when we analyzed all the data, the entire data set, it indicated even a worse ratio than the 84.95, which even dropped us further. And of course, from that point forward, the sales ratio has steadily declined up until now, when our obligation is to bring those values back to 100% of market. So Donna, if you'll So here are the key players in this whole process. We were talking about earlier about folks talking about their role, and this is not on us. We'll accept one half of the blame, so to speak, for folks values changing, or not values changing, but the whole tax piece. Because what happens here is our responsibility is get the values back to 100% of market. And then, of course, that's where the local leaders, once we do that, the local leaders get involved, not just at the county level, but everybody tends to forget that at the municipal level also, and and even fire districts. So in Guilford County, what you have is a situation where if you're in Guilford County, you're also going to have either a fire district tax you're going to be paying, or a municipal tax. So those come in combo form. So that's what happens there. So why do we have a reappraisal? We're mandated under statute to do that. 105-286 mandates that it be done every 8 years. And then, of course, the commissioners have the authority to make that cycle more frequent. They did so in 2012, coming out of the 2012 reappraisal, and decided to go to a 5-year reappraisal from that point forward. And we did 2 of those, 17 and 22 were the most recent reappraisals that we did. And to give you an idea of counties that are on a shorter cycle than 8 years, out of the 100 counties in the state, 57 are on a 4-year cycle, 32 are on an 8-year cycle, and 11 of them are between 4 and 8. I would just point out, go back to that, Donna. I would just point out that most of these counties that are on a 4-year cycle are counties that have a tremendous amount of population. They're not small rural counties. Of course, saying those 32 counties that do an 8-year cycle, probably the majority of those are small rural counties where you just don't have a lot of change in the real estate market landscape. So that tends to lead to a longer delay in reestablishing market values for properties, because properties are not changing as a fast a rate typically as you would in these 57 counties that are on a 4-year cycle. Thank you. So what does more frequent reappraisals lend itself to? Well, it lends itself to fairness and equity, in that when you move away from a effective date of a reappraisal, the further you move away from that effective date, the less fairness or there's more inequity that occurs. So what you do with the reappraisals, you try to establish fairness, equity, and redistribute the tax base, if you will. Also, when you, like I alluded to earlier, when you got substantial growth in a jurisdiction, of course, like Guilford, it leads to rising values and, of course, sticker shock. And what we want to do is reduce that sticker shock. And one of the ways to do that is do a more frequent cycle. Also, it creates a lot of financial uncertainty for many families when you have a longer cycle, and that the values tend to jump up, and folks are just not ready to absorb that, especially on the other end of the equation, where municipal leaders or county commissioners step in and they don't adjust the rate accordingly. That gets passed on to the property owner. So that's tough to handle in some cases. Also ensures that new construction and renovations are valued closer to when those take place. Right now, if something got built in 2025, we had to reference back to the 22 schedule of values that were in place. So essentially, you're using building costs and all those costs that were in place in 22. And of course, everybody knows those costs since 22 have gone up. So that allows us an opportunity to get everybody back on the same level playing field, so to speak. Fast-growing counties are moving to more frequent reappraisals. We indicated earlier, Wake County has moved to a 3-year cycle. They're planning after the three-year reappraisal to go to a 2-year cycle. And we'll see what happens with that. Other large jurisdictions may follow suit and do more frequent reappraisals, even more frequent than 4 years. So reappraisals are not to enhance or preserve revenue. There are many times people associate us with my tax bill is going to increase. Well, it may, but we don't control that. We only control the valuation piece. So who appraises my property? Guilford County has an internal staff of residential and commercial appraisers that are responsible for doing this. That's been true with this reappraisal. All of our guys are certified by the North Carolina Department of Revenue to do this type work. And most of them carry a dual certification in that they're certified appraisers by the North Carolina Appraisal Board. So sometimes we get the question, well, nobody visited my property. How was it appraised? What we do is we simply collect and analyze sales data and trends from the previous 4 years to value parcels in a neighborhood. And we have, or what is typically called market areas. We typically call, in our profession, we typically call these areas market areas. Where in Guilford County, we have over 2,500 market areas that we basically have carved out and said that these properties are unique unto themselves and that they have a lot of similarities, and we declared a similar market area and we value them accordingly. And the end result is those values should be pretty equitable when you look at the bottom line. Tools and methods Donna, you're fast on the trigger there. Tools and methods include field inspections, aerial imagery, permitting that we get through our building inspections department. That information gets passed on to us, and we utilize all of that data internally to arrive at values. 220,000 properties in Guilford County. So what does the average residential sales price in the county look like over the last 4 years? Dating back to September 2025, it went from 338.1 in 22, and then we see what happened a year later, 357.2, September of 24, 374.5, and then in September of 25, 391, 354 was the average residential sales price in the county. So when you look at tax base percentages, residential makes up 65% of the tax base. Commercial makes up about 35% of the tax base, and sometimes that gets lost in the conversation, so to speak. The point here is the residential property owner carries the brunt of the tax burden in Guilford County, and I would say that is true in most large jurisdictions of the state. That percentage right there is pretty reflective of what is in those other counties, say like a Wake or a Meck or Forsyth, large jurisdictions like that. So what is the current status of residential properties? We're 100% complete on those. We're glad to say that we have wrapped that process up. It is, we're about, well, actually less than 2 weeks out, or about 2 weeks out from mailing those notices. Those notices will be hitting the mail probably around the 17th on a Tuesday of this month. So get ready for those. And maybe we'll have some questions about what you guys can do to help us in this, or to help get the message out. Obviously, you play a very vital role in that. So we're looking forward to working with our realtors on that piece. Flip back for a minute. So the commercial piece is tracking behind, and that we're about 70% complete there. Income models have been implemented on this particular project. We've used the income approach a lot more with commercial properties. And what we have done there is is we've relied heavily upon the income information if we got it. And what I would just caution the commercial community to take a look at, if your property's been appraised on the income model, it is going to be very vital and important for us. If you think your value is just off target, that we're provided that income information so that we can hone further in on what your actual value may be. So introducing that for the very first time for a lot of our commercial properties, along with the cost approach. So we'll see how that plays out. And those notices will be going out in the middle of March. So early estimates on the assessed values. I know we've actually heard, I don't know where they got this number, but a lot of folks have been pushing out a 50% increase overall with a real estate base. That's probably not going to be typical. It's probably going to be in the range of 40-45% that our real estate base is going to increase. And of course, we want to caution folks, don't accept that percentage as what my percentage increase is going to be, because it's going to vary. Yours may increase 25%, whereas somebody else's may increase 55%. So there's going to be a broad range there of where those values may end up, but you can just anticipate somewhere in the middle of that 40-45% range, and that would be typical in the marketplace. So the tax department continues to well, we've already completed the review on residential. Again, those notices going out February 17th. And of course, we've already talked about commercial and when those will be hitting the mail also. So some of our goals for the reappraisal is we talked about this earlier, was the fair and equitable valuation, and that we want to value all properties accurately with the goal of appraising each property within a +5 or a -5 or +5%. That is, you end up at 95% on a sales ratio or 105, but obviously we want to hit dead smack in the middle at 100%. I believe based on what we're seeing right now, that sales ratio is going to end up being somewhere close, very close to 100%. We're very pleased with the ratios that we've been looking at, the sales ratio, the coefficient of dispersion, and the PRD, the price related differential. And we're probably going to be introducing another statistic if we have time, and that's the PRB, which is the probability of a bias, real property bias. So we'll be introducing that piece probably as part of this, as part of the statistic that we put out to the general public. So also, let's see, we want to review the key types of property. We've done that, and providing equity of the assessment between all those types. So we feel like we've done that, not just among residential properties, but also among commercial and industrial type properties. We think we've got a smoother appeals process in place for the general public. The appeals module that we're using is an online piece of software called Appeals Pro. It offers ease of submission and also tracking progress for an appellate. And what we're going to do is, as soon as those notices get mailed out next week or the following week, then we'll take a look, and our appraisers will take a look at the appeals that come in. It's called the informal. So that's where the appraiser will work directly with the property owner, review their property, and hopefully reach a conclusion that is acceptable to both parties. So if that value is not accepted, it will be transferred to the Board of Equalization Review, which is the first formal appeal process. And it's a board that is appointed by our county commissioners, a 5-member board. That is typically, or some smaller counties, it is the Board of Commissioners, but in Guilford's case, our commissioners wouldn't have time to sit and hear appeals of real estate So the Board of Equalization Review is appointed and sits there as their stead to hear local valuation appeals from property owners. Of course, if that value is not accepted, they can appeal up to the Property Tax Commission. So appeal forms are going to be available when the notices are mailed. It's going to be a simple online process, as we've already mentioned. If folks don't have access to the online appeals process, those will be available in the tax office itself. And they can review property data and neighborhood sales right from a product called Copper Citizen, where they can take a look at their own value and compare that to their neighbors. So that module will be online, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks we'll be providing a podcast where they can it'll show how to step through and utilize that Copper Citizen out there. And we want to encourage the realtor group to point folks to that particular module, because it should be very easily understood, and almost like having a personal appraisal of their property without actually hiring someone to do the appraisal. Essentially the Copper Citizen piece will do that for you. It'll grab the subject property and then give you the sales comps to go along with it. So we would love for our realtors to adapt that piece and point folks to that when they get questioned about whether or not they should probably appeal their value. That would be the place to start. The appeal deadline is May the 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, unresolved appeals are going to be automatically moved to the Board of Equalization Review. So here's the tax relief programs that are available to citizens that may qualify. The homestead exclusion for elderly and disabled is we have about 5,100 accounts there. There's about 1,000 disabled veterans that take advantage of the second type of exclusion. And then the circuit breaker piece, we have less than a handful of those that take advantage of that, basically because it puts the tax bill into a deferred status, where if there's a triggering event and they lose eligibility, they have to go back and pay the prior 3 years of taxes that were deferred. So most folks do not want to have basically a lien put on their property and be thrown into a deferred situation. Whereas the homestead exclusion is one that is there, and the exemption is automatic, and there's no deferred status. Also, the commissioners have been talking about for some time. In fact, over the last several fiscal periods, we have budgeted $500,000, or the commissioners have budgeted $500,000 for someone to take advantage of the low income homeowner assistance program. It looks like this program may get launched in the fiscal period that is coming up for 2027. That may give some relief to folks that qualify. I'm not going to go through and read the qualifications there. They're right there on the screen for you. Essentially, it's going to mirror the city of Greensboro's program, which has been in effect for the last several years. And this is still under development. And hopefully we'll be having some conversations around that. And we'll see what the commissioners do with this. It's going to cost about $200,000 to $250,000 to administer the program. So maybe the commissioners will up the ante, so to speak, and appropriate more than just the $500,000 for the fiscal period 26-27, when the reappraised values are going to kick in, and folks are going to see that reflected on their new tax bills. So here's the process we want folks to step through as they consider whether or not to appeal. Number one, check your property information on the county website. Make sure that we have the square footage, year build, all the characteristics of the property are correct, the data is correct. If not, number two, inform us of those discrepancies so that we can correct your data. After all, the value itself is only going to be as good as the data behind it. So if the data is wrong, high probability the value is going to be wrong. So number three, check your value as soon as the notice arrives. There's not going to be any doubt about this notice. It's going to be highlighted in like a lime green lettering across the front that's going to say 2026 reappraisal. And then on the back side, an envelope flap on the back, it's going to say open immediately. So not junk mail. We want to make sure that folks get their value and they open it up as soon as they get it. Number four, contact your mortgage company about any increase and request escrow adjustments accordingly. This is something that folks tend to forget, and they may not experience that until about 6 or 7 months later in January the following year, when there's a deficiency in their escrow account. So we want them to be aware of that their escrow account may be impacted, because sometimes that gets lost in the mix, especially with the 85,000 folks that whose accounts, real estate accounts, are in escrow. They need to be well aware of this. They'll be getting a letter instead of a bill in July that tells them how much taxes the mortgage company's paying for them. And sometimes they tend to overlook that, but they really need to pay close attention to it, especially in 2026 with its new appraised value. Again, number five, the appeal deadline is May the 15th, so don't forget about that. So where are we in the reappraisal timeline? Here we are in February with these notices getting ready to be mailed. The appeal period is going to open up as soon as those notices hit. Again, the commercial notices are going to be mailed and published on the PWA around the middle of March. May 15th, the last day to appeal. And then, of course, this spring, the commissioners are going to be having budget discussions, and those will be scheduled. They'll have town halls out there for budget town halls for the public to be engaged in that process. And then behind that, after that discussion with our commissioners, those town hall events, the commissioners will come back along with the municipal leaders, and they will set tax rates in June. And then as a result of that, we'll mail property tax bills in July. Here's the QR code where you can connect with us right directly to our website. There's a wealth of information out there on the reappraisal website that we want the general public to take advantage of. So with that, we'll go ahead and entertain questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to defer to Peter Johnston and Mike Barr, who I think were monitoring the chat room. Peter or Mike, do you all have any questions that have been forwarded for our guests?
So far, the only question.
I don't see any questions yet, but Ben, I'll ask you a question. If a property has been thrown into a floodplain, somebody had asked me this question, and did you take that into account with property reval? Because some of the properties have been thrown into a floodplain recently.
Right. I'll let Jennifer answer that one.
If they have been thrown into a floodplain recently, it may be information that we don't have. And again, that appeal process is there to let us know of information that we might not be aware of, such as either the interior condition of a property, because of course we're not inspecting everybody's property, or something like a floodplain that has recently happened. So again, that appeal process is there for that reason.
Okay, and how about if a property's sold in foreclosure next to a property? Do you take that into account?
We don't use foreclosed sales in our analysis. We are only using arm's length transactions when we are looking at what a particular market area, what those sales are doing. The foreclosures are not considered in that.
Okay. Just seeing we got something popped in. That's okay. That's something for a little later. All right.
Yeah. So I see one of the questions, when will GIS show the new values?
So those values are going to be published almost simultaneously whenever the notice hits the mail. So when we're able to ascertain that those notices have been dropped, we'll drop that data to the website. It'll be there for public consumption.
Okay. And so is there a risk for your property taxes to increase if you appeal?
That is a
Well, that's part of the equation. Your value can do one of three things. It can stay the same, it can go up, or it can go down. So uh, the point is, through that appeal process, we just want the value to be right. But those are one of the three scenarios that could occur.
Okay, just waiting to see. We got to.
So let's see. Of the 2,500 areas mentioned, are you able to identify which areas have the highest increase and or the lowest increase?
Jennifer, you want to answer that one? I'll defer to you on that one.
at this time, I can't, I don't have that information available. Again, because we're not looking at it by a zip code, we are looking at it by a market area. That market area may be based upon like a specific neighborhood, but what we're trying to do is just get the value right for 2026. So I'm not looking at it what it did in 2022. Is it right for 2026?
Okay. What else we got, Pete?
We have a clarification question that's been asked that the taxes based on the reappraisal will be due in January of 2027. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
That is not correct.
Well,
Taxes become due September 1. In Guilford County, we offer a 1% discount for early payment of taxes in July and August. And then September 1, they become due. But after January, from September 1 through January the 5th, you pay the par amount. After that date of January 5th, there's a 2% penalty for late payment of taxes that is incurred at that point. That will be January the 6th of 2027.
Let's see. We have a question in regards to a senior that has moved into a new property, and what is that senior able to do to keep their taxes down?
To keep their taxes down.
Yeah, since it is possible that the reappraisal will make that property value and therefore the taxes go up.
The only thing that they would have, I would say, not knowing what the commissioners are going to do with the rate, would be if they are able to take advantage of one of those exemption programs that we mentioned earlier, or to take advantage of the proposed grant program that the commissioners are looking to implement, which is already in effect in the city of Greensboro. That is the only thing that I can think of. Donna, Jennifer, I can't think of anything else.
No, just make sure that they apply for the elderly exemption if they qualify.
Yep.
and that if they have their mortgage escrowed, to reach out to their escrow, to their mortgage company to make sure that they get the escrow amount adjusted accordingly.
Let's see.
Anything else? Anybody else have a question?
So let's see. Another clarification. The stats indicate the average residential prices went up about 15%, between 2022 and 2025. And they were wanting to make sure that they understand that assessed values could go up potentially 40 to 45% range. Is that a correct statement?
What we're seeing with the 40-45% at this point is the real property base itself is going to move 40-45%. That's the entire real estate base. Okay. So what you can ascertain from that is that if you were looking at the median increase, that the typical property owner is going to be somewhere in that range. Again, they from personally, if theirs may increase 25%, someone else may increase 60%. But that's kind of like the middle of the road, so to speak, I would say, as far as increase. Now, I would also point out some of the other jurisdictions that had reappraisals, like you got Johnston, Wake, uh, 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 Orange, Durham, those counties, some of them similar to our cycle. One of them in particular, Johnston, saw like a 70% increase in their real property base. So it's gonna affect folks differently based on those market areas we talked about.
If a house hasn't been sold in a while, will it be undervalued?
No, because again, we're going to look at what the sales are in that neighborhood to determine what that every house in that neighborhood should reflect.
I would also we had one of these at the public meetings we had. We scheduled 3 of these. One of those got canceled. The last one got canceled due to the weather. But we got a similar question on this. Obviously, we don't know what's going on. Say someone has lived in the house for 30 years, 40 years. They've done no upgrades to the interior of the home. Typically, we're not going to know about that. All we're doing is examining the house and the exterior. So I think it is very important for if you have not upgraded or remodeled your home, and we've valued neighboring properties as if they have done some renovations and upgrades, then you may have a basis for appeal. So I was just caution folks that if they've not done any upgrades or something like that, they probably need to bring that to our attention so that we can address that if we need to. Not true with all cases, but that could very well happen.
So this is just an informational question. So you have access to the MLS. You guys are participating in the MLS. What do you use the MLS for?
Just to qualify sales and see if we were missing any square footage or bathroom counts, things like that.
Okay.
Subjective data or objective data, sorry.
All right. Anyone else?
Mike, there's one in there. I'm not sure if this is something that the tax department can answer or not. The top question in there. Are you seeing that? About whether or not realtors can provide CMAs for homeowners that are potentially appealing.
So they can, but they're not going to have to, because we have the new Comper Citizen program that's going to take, frankly, a lot of weight off your shoulders, because a resident will be able to go into that program and pull the comparables for themselves. But the short answer is yes, you can do that.
And Copper Citizens is an AVM?
No, it's not an automated valuation model. It'll actually pull the sales that were utilized in our database.
Gotcha. All right. Anybody else? Going once? Bill? Twice?
That's some great information, and I appreciate that. I'm confident. We'll still have lots of questions that come in over the next couple of weeks. So, but the valuation module you're talking about, that's going to be a great tool for us to suggest and pass along to our citizens and our clients, because they're sometimes, if they get in and can do it themselves, they're seeing is believing sometimes.
Bill, could I interject just a moment?
Yes, sir.
Can we send Jennifer or Donna, do we have the link to Comper Citizen, or can we make that available to them at what point?
It's not out there yet. When values go out, it'll be out. Yeah.
So I would suggest we share that with the realtors and their group, how to help folks navigate through that. And of course, you can reach out to us, reach out to Jennifer and her team if some of your team members have a difficulty in navigating that product and helping citizens step through that. We want you guys to help us utilize that.
Yeah, I can get a link to Holly, and Holly, I think, will, or Peter, and let them.
And for any of the questions that we don't get to address, because a few more have popped in, I will send those over. We'll get those sent over to you guys so that we can get some answers, and we'll provide them back in an email to all the attendees, as well as a recording, so that you can share this with the rest of your office for people that might be interested.
Yeah, and congratulations. You kept about 120 people on the Zoom this whole time, so that's pretty good.
Awesome.
No death threats, no anything. It was actually a very positive experience.
Yeah, Bill, we had one other person who was talking about their brother-in-law who's running for Superior Court. Kathy Haynes put in David Churchill is running for Guilford County Clerk of Superior Court. He has been in position 17 out of the last 27 years. He's managed over 150 employees in High Point and Greensboro, and she just want to let everybody know she's endorsing him, and she's hopes everybody will vote for him. So, okay.
Thank you, Mike. We'll make sure and suggest that Kathy also spreads that information throughout the membership again as well in other venues. So, Kathy, thanks for including that. So. Well, in order to be sensitive to everybody's time, I'm going to go ahead and extend one more round of thanks to Ben and Jennifer and Donna. You guys have been terrific. Thank you for your patience, especially working through the technical difficulties to begin with. But you're a wealth of information, and we thank you for your time. And again, as I mentioned before, we'll be donating a book in your honor to our adopted elementary school, Hunter Elementary School, which is one of our favorite things to do, and certainly dear to our hearts. So we always look for an excuse, and y'all are the excuse today for getting some book to them.
That's a great thing to do. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I will let you take your leave at this point. I'm going to wrap up our meeting, and thank you again. And please let us know if we can do anything, the Comper Citizens link and that sort of thing. Anything you can get to us, we would be delighted to get our membership.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you very much. Again, to the Realtor members that are still on, I do want to say one more round of thanks to Fortified Dreams Property Solutions for being our sponsor today. And again, they're represented by Alika DeGraff, one of our members, and Alika will be at our March meeting, and we'll be doing a card drawing at that time. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for their patience and their willingness to come to today's luncheon. I hope everybody enjoyed their lunch today. You got to have whatever you wanted. So I look forward to doing this in March and seeing everybody's smiling faces face to face. And thank you again for your effort, and thanks for being a part of the proud Realtor membership. To that, I will tell everyone goodbye and enjoy and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye.